Well, we're back on the trail again, covering the towns of the Little Sioux River. I took a little break. I had, of course, video 1 and video 2. Go back and check those out. And now, of course, we're starting this video in the town of Anthon, Iowa, and about a population of 545. I showed you the Freedom Rock, which is really cool. You'll see those all over the place in Iowa. Some of them, of course, in counties. This is Woodbury County, and that's the Woodbury Freedom Rock. And over here, while I was coming, I thought, well, I got to get a video of this. Pretty cool. So coming into town, we'll show you more highlights of Anthon before we head to our next town along the Little Sioux River. But over here we have the Anthon Event Center. I thought, hey, how often do you have a town of 545 with an event center? Good for you, Anthon. I love it. Let's go check out the rest of the town before we head down the Little Sioux River. One thing I love about small towns is they're getting with the picture with the art scene, especially with those murals on these old brick buildings. Just driving around downtown, I really wanted to get a really close-up shot of this bank. I love it when I go to these small towns and they got the bank on the corner, the old classic style building. This looks for sale, but isn't this neat? They painted the brick. Looks great. Looks like a great building for someone to buy, put a business in. Wow, got the old burglar alarm up there. We got this really cool building right next to it. Look at this old style brick. Little Solutions. That's cool. Let's take a closer look at this bank building again. See, they bricked the old windows out. Well, we're a little later in the day here in Anthon. You can see traffic is kind of going by, which is pretty sweet for a town of 545. I want to go back to this mural again. I'm going to talk a little bit about this, but you kind of notice here, right? Anthon, my kind of town. My kind of town. Got people going home from work, and it looks like this was a town that was established in 1888. That's another thing too. Town pride. Proud of their town, proud to show it off, and a beautiful downtown as well. That bank building, which is right down there what I was showing you earlier, it's really cool. I like the concept of what they're doing. We're gonna keep on moseying down the trail. We got a bunch more that we're gonna go to. We're gonna head to our next small town. Like I said, we're just trekking along town by town, making our way down the Little Sioux River. The towns along the Little Sioux River all the way down to the Missouri River. Let's keep on going. Well, we made it to Odo. It's our next town, of course, along the Little Sioux River on this segment. I'm really glad that you're following along on this one. Go back, like I said before, check out the other videos so you can kind of see where I'm going. I kind of grew up in this area, so to me, it just feels like home along the Little Sioux River. And this is a cute town, 103 population, so getting a little smaller the closer we get to the Missouri River. I was driving around town. It's little. It does not take long. Of course, you have this really cool grain elevator that's behind us here. That's cool. But I noticed this and I thought I better talk about this a little bit. So the Odo Honor Roll, they offer their lives, freedom shall not perish from this earth. And check out all these veterans. But as I was driving, just to get a little better footage of this elevator, I noticed this old style gas station. You know, they have that old brick awning that kind of sits over with the old style pumps. And I thought, this is pretty cool. And caught my attention right away. I'll get a little more closer footage on it, but man, this is so neat. And again, it's just right down the path as you're going from Correctionville. And of course, you're in Anthon, and then of course, now you're in Odo. So, do you remember in one of my Nebraska videos where I was talking, you can always see where the local watering hole is or where to eat? And I found it here in Odo. It's definitely this place right here, which is pretty cool. The Pub and Grub. You can tell it's a popular spot. It's pretty awesome. That's what I love about small towns. We're gonna check out this city jail over here real quick. We'll wrap around and check out this building. And that'll be it for this video. The Odo City Jail, 1935. Was that the jail? Either way, it's pretty cool. There's that building I'm gonna take a look at. This is a super cool building right on the edge of the downtown. Doesn't take long to get downtown. 30 seconds maybe to go down. 1898. Oh, I have one last story, of course. I ran into the locals and I had to sit there and talk to them, and they had story after story. Come to find out as we're talking, we're connected. We call it Dutch bingo, by the way, when you connect dots. Found out that, oh, hey, we've been to your uncle's bar, the Chicken, and then they give you schnapps afterwards. And I'm like, yeah, that's my uncle's bar. That's amazing. Here I am in a little town of Odo, Iowa. They know my family, so I feel like I'm family here. We start talking like, hey, 2 stories for you before you leave town. I'm like, what? Number 1, and I don't know if you can get him, but the owner of this place is from Wales. And I said, are you kidding me right now? I said, this is the second person from from the British Isles that are here. I was just in Nebraska, talked to some gals from London. They love it here. How does a person come from Wales and own a little bar and grill here in Odo, Iowa, population 103? And they were doubting that. They're like, is it 103? Seems like it's like 15. Are they counting like all the farmers around? And I said, probably. So we are in a small, tiny village. I love it. This is the kind of stuff I love. And they're like, and there's one other story, of course, that you have to know. Do not leave town until you get some footage of the salvage yard, Nix. That's really what put this place on the map. It's like this place became almost famous for people driving from all over to get parts and so forth at the, well, they used to call them junkyards back in the day. The technical name is salvage yard. So we're gonna go check out the salvage yard just real quick to show you pictures. Then we will head to our next town. Man, I love it. What a small world. Well, we made it to Smithland, Iowa. This is going to be our last one on this trek. Kind of the lower half of that Little Sioux River trail that I'm kind of taking you down on. And of course, this is a historic town, so this is the perfect one to kind of end on this segment. You can see it was founded in 1851. Smithland's about a population of 181, and so that, of course, it's been around for a long time, and there is a rich story that goes along with this one. And I'm going to get into that here in a little bit. It kind of singles around the story of Inkpaducah and the Spirit Lake Massacre. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. We did touch upon it when we were in Peterson. But let's look at these buildings quick. I got another gas station to show you, and then the monument of Inkpaducah. We'll go there next. And down just a ways, down at the end of this building here, is the Log Cabin Museum. Now it's closed today, and it's closed today, but it's definitely worth taking a look at. These old buildings along the route really stuck out to me. And of course they scream, hey, we are a Midwest small town. But what I love about towns like this is when that they are saving them and they're using them and they're turning them to apartments and they're turning them into museums, buildings that they're functioning. You know, I hear stories sometimes of some of these small towns and people kind of like, they want to make fun of them a little bit. They're dying, nothing's happening in this town. But look at this. Here's an old bank building, one of those corner ones again. They've been in every single town that I've been in so far. And look, they're absolutely saving this building, using it for something. But about Smithland, we'll get there shortly. Of course, I got the old gas station again. Look at that old pump. That's pretty cool. Can you imagine if prices were still this right now? $2.26. That's been a while. Smithland Country Store. So I wanted to get this. It spotted my attention right away. Something kind of old. I used to do a lot of abandoned history, and so when you see this, it's like, whoa, abandonedness right here in Smithland, Iowa. But the history of Smithland, like I said before, really kind of centers around the uprising that was kind of happening with the Sioux Indians surrounding Inkpaducah. But there is a marker, a historical marker somewhere around here, and I'm going to try to find it, and I'll tell you more about the story. So we made it to the Inkpaducah historical marker. This is in Woodbury County, right outside of Smithland. We found it. And what this was Inkpaducah's campsite. So let's talk about this a little bit. During the harsh winter of 1856-57, some say that's one of the harshest winter on record, by the way, Inkpaducah and his outcast band of renegade Sioux Indians camped near the Little Sioux River on the Elijah Adams farm. Relations between the Indians and the whites disintegrated, and following a dispute over allegedly stolen corn, the settlers drove the Indians out of the area in February 1857. The band headed north up the Little Sioux Valley to Spirit Lake, where less than 1 month later, they committed the infamous Spirit Lake Massacre. History. So let's talk about this just for a moment, because there is different accounts. There is the Native American side of the story, and of course the white settlers side of the story. And I've read some different books, including Abby Gardner's famous book, right? She was the lone survivor out of that Spirit Lake Massacre when they took her, and she wrote all sorts of different things, different accounts. And I read that story and I thought, this is really interesting just to kind of talk about the history of Inkpaducah in this area. This is going to be the most historical stop, even over Peterson, Iowa, probably on this entire trek down the Little Sioux River. Now, Smithland, here's some of the other side of the story that I've heard. And by the way, like I said, I'm all about different comments. I am not like some perfectionist historian on this. Jim, my good friend, if you're listening to this, I consider you an Inkpaducah expert. By all means, comment below on this. But here's my understanding. They said that there was a fight over corn. I heard that maybe it was a fight over possible elk, that there was maybe a cow that was killed and so forth. I want you to think about what was going on during this time. I just got done saying it was the harshest winter on record, right? And what they did is they took their guns away from them. They took their hunting tools away from them. It was freezing cold. They had no food. They were starving. And so my understanding is that's what was going on, that they're like, look, we have to survive. And so we're going to do this. And of course, the settlers got upset, kicked them out of the area. And so you can imagine along the route up, heading north on the Little Sioux River, Inkpaduta and his people who were starving. He even lost a child en route, right? Died. And he gets up into the Spirit Lake area. My understanding is that they found all these white settlers in an area that they would consider highly spiritual, right? A burial ground for them, a very holy place. And they got upset. And of course, one thing led to another. And there's a whole side story to this. I'm not trying to lead you down one certain path. I'm just saying that there were two sides of the story. This marker here is where this campsite happened. And this is a historical spot. So this is outside of Smithland, Iowa. Cute small town, right? And I think I said I was going to end here, but there is one more town that I think I'll get on this route, and that is the small town of Rodney, which is like 4 miles outside of Smithland. So we'll head down there and we'll wrap up this video. Well, we made it to our last town, Rodney, Iowa, population 57. And we've been trekking down. This is our last of 4 on this one. We got Anthon that we covered. Then we went down and we covered Odo, Iowa. Then we went ahead and we covered Smithland, Iowa, and now Rodney, Iowa. And we have one more video before we get down to the Missouri River, but I just wanted to kind of end the segment in Rodney. What a sweet little town. I was trying to find just a sign that I can just kind of show that, hey, this is Rodney. And I did find the city hall. And so I was able to, with that anyway, let you know this is Rodney. So it doesn't take long to get through town, but it is a quiet town. I'm in the city park, as you can see. And what I liked, what they did this, they put this little area up for seating. And you can kind of see too that they celebrated not that long ago, celebrating the 100-year anniversary of Rodney from 1887 to 1987, and that's pretty cool. We're in Monona County, by the way, and so we kind of trekking along. We kind of ended in Cherokee, and then we were in Woodbury County, and then Monona County. But I think I called this the city park. This is Man City Park. And I'm guessing it's named after somebody. But I just want to sit here real quick as we end this video and just kind of talk about, when I drove around town and just kind of found the different areas, I can tell that people choose to live here because the quietness, because the simple life, because yes, it's off the beaten path, but there's other things that are nearby, and there are things to do in this town. There are places to go in this town. You can go down the road just about 10 minutes and be Odo, and you could be eating at that amazing bar and grill that they had. And it's the locals. Again, story after I stop and I talk with people about the fact that they live in a historical place like Smithland. And just stuff like that brings me back over and over again to small towns like this. So thanks for coming along on this one. If you haven't subscribed, follow along and subscribe below. I'd love to have you come along on the journey. We're not done yet with the series. One more and we'll cover some of those towns. There's not very many left and we'll be at the Missouri River. So just thankful that we're able to finally get some warm weather so we can get on this one. So like I always say on this channel, go small, come home. This is Midwest Small Town.